Keeping with federal politics at a local level, Adam Van Koeverden has been very vocal about his support for Mark Carney. I spoke with the Milton MP earlier today and asked why he is so firmly behind Canada's newest Prime Minister.
Huge support for Mark Carney. He is the right guy for today and into the future. He's got a very incredible CV. You know, I think it's like Connor McDavid knocking on your door and saying, "Hey, do you guys play like hockey after school? Can I play with you?" It's really, really remarkable when people as talented and smart and experienced as Mark Carney step up at a really critical time. Look, we're being threatened by Donald Trump and the Americans right now. They're threatening our sovereignty. They're threatening our economy. They're threatening our jobs. And we've got to stand up, be strong, and say, absolutely not. Canada will never be the 51st state. We do not want to be a part of your country. You know, it's fine being your neighbor. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it's tough. But look, we need someone who has the economic acumen and the ability, the track record of being able to stand up. And look, this guy managed the 2008-2009 economic downturn following the housing crisis in the United States. He also managed Brexit for the UK. He's an extraordinary crisis manager, and he's exactly who we need right now to manage us through this economic trade war with Donald Trump.
Now, one of the new Prime Minister's first steps was to remove the carbon tax. You are someone that we've spoken. You were behind the carbon tax, obviously, to fight climate change. Where do you stand on this decision?
Well, look, it was all about competitiveness with President Joe Biden. He brought forward $1 trillion Inflation Reduction Act. And in response to that, Canada needed to be agile, and we needed to also demonstrate climate action. And what we saw from that was massive foreign direct investment. Other countries wanted to do business with Canada because we were demonstrating the same efforts to decarbonize. And that was very, very appealing to companies like Stellantis and Volkswagen and Dow Chemical. So we saw huge investments in Canada. This is the new context. Donald Trump is, he's obviously ripped up the Paris Agreement, and he's not focused on climate action. We're going to continue to focus on climate action, but in a way that, keeps us very, very competitive, maintains our sovereignty and our competitiveness against the United States. Because, if he starts making it easier for folks to do business down in the United States, we want to keep the business here. We did a very good job of that in the last 6 years. Foreign direct investment is high, and we want it to be even higher over the next 4 years. So, look, we're going to keep fighting climate change, and we're going to keep lowering our emissions too. But we're going to do it in different ways with different tools and different strategies.
Well, climate change is something that you speak of very passionately. I could feel it right there, as is sports. Now, Mark Carney has named his new slimmed down cabinet. As of right now, there is no Minister of Sport. Wanted to get your thoughts on that.
Well, I continue to be the Parliamentary Secretary for Sport. I've had sport in my portfolio for the last 6 years, regardless of whether or not there's been a Minister of Sport in title. However, I've also worked with Minister Guilbeault on both the environment and when he was Minister of Heritage, and that's basically his role now. So I've got the file. I'm making an announcement later this week because we are delivering an additional $15 million to the Community Sport for All initiative. And this is about tackling the high costs of community sport, grassroots sport, just participation, right? Getting out there. I knock on doors and people are always like, hey, remember participation? How come we don't have participation? Well, we do have participation. And, spoiler alert, there's some money for participation in this announcement later this week. And we continue to support that organization and lots of great organizations right across Canada that are doing this extraordinary work. So I'm very, very proud of the work that we're doing on sport. And this is a slimmed down cabinet because we're going into an election. And we need to make sure that all of those files are, well attended to throughout that election period. So it's slimmed down just to focus on basically the number one issue on the ballot box, and the number one issue at the border is fighting Donald Trump's economic threats and these tariffs. So you won't see as much of an emphasis on things that aren't directly related to that economic trade war. But that doesn't mean that they're not priorities. Certainly, making sure that kids still have swimming lessons is a priority for me. But it doesn't have much to do with the economic trade war with Donald Trump. So suffice to say, on the sport file, I've got it.
All right. And, taking the election into consideration, you just mentioned, I think we all know we're going into one. It's going to be called very soon. I just wanted to reconfirm that you're running again, and it is a modified riding.
100%. Yeah. So Halton region is growing. I don't need to tell anybody that. We currently have 5 ridings, but in the next election, we're going to have 6. This is good. It's really good for Halton region. It means that we're going to have more voices at the table. It means that we're going to have more representatives standing up for our region and everybody that lives in it. for comparison, the city of Mississauga has 5 ridings, and Brampton has always had 4, but now they're getting 5 because they're also growing. So Halton Region, requires more representation in order for everybody's vote and voice to count. So I will be running in Burlington North, Milton West, and there's a new riding called Milton East, Halton Hills South. And depending on where you live, if you're in wards 1 or 4, then you're going to in Milton, then you're going to be in Burlington North, Milton West. If you live in wards 2 and 3 in Milton, then you're going to be in Milton East, Halton Hills South. And I currently have in the riding of Milton has a large part of Burlington is currently in my riding, but I will also assume all of Oakville North Burlington's Burlington.